Welcome to Pink Radio with Prestige. This is the place for you, the diva boss entrepreneur who needs quick tips on building your crave-worthy brand. This is your host, Nicole Doss, CEO of the Prestige Society, a membership organization for women entrepreneurs who believe in building powerful networks while slaying in their industries. So I want you to go ahead and grab your favorite cup of coffee and get your favorite tips right here with Prestige. Hey, girl bosses. It's Nicole Doss, and I am so happy that you have decided to come back and listen to another episode of Pink Radio with Prestige. I just wanted to remind you guys that if you love Pink Radio, please take the time to subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, as well as giving us a 5-star rating. This helps us become more visible to other girl bosses who are also looking for gems and information to build their businesses. So if you want to support the podcast, please feel free to go ahead and not only give us the 5 stars, but drop a comment. Give us a one-liner that really helps us know exactly how Pink Radio is helping you build your business today. Today we're going to talk about seeds of doubt. And, whenever I do a podcast episode, 9 times out of 10, it's because of something that I have experienced in life. So last week, I received some pretty interesting feedback, and it was feedback that was constructive, but initially when I received it, I just would have probably categorized it as being negative. Not only would I have categorized it as being negative, but I gotta tell you, it left a stink on me. So, what do I mean by leaving a stink on me? Well, think about any kind of feedback you may have received from a customer, maybe from a peer, maybe from someone who you report to, and you just couldn't shake off the icky feeling that was left behind from that particular feedback that was delivered. That was something that happened to me, and it really impacted me in a way where I really couldn't be productive for the rest of the day. And it just kind of, the sad part was, I guess it was a good and a bad. So it happened at the end of my day, but I carried it with me through the evening, and it really carried over into my sleep. So I wasn't really sleeping well, and then it definitely kind of tried to creep its way into the next day. So there were probably a few things that I did during that time that I was feeling uneasy during that time of unrest. And what I found, or what I decided that I needed to do, was go through these steps that I wanted to share with you. Because oddly enough, the very next day on my way into the office, I was chatting with Elaine, who everyone knows is my boo. So I call up Elaine, and or she might have called me, but nonetheless, we were on the phone and during our morning commute. And so she was kind of giving me just some insight on how her day was going, and her day wasn't going so hot either. And she was just kind of sharing why she, couldn't speak with me. And I was sharing with her why I was feeling kind of funky the day before. And I gotta tell you, what I found out was that, we both kind of came to this aha moment. And actually, it was Elaine who was just like, listen, our rebound period has to really be shorter. Meaning, when we have these moments where we're kind of feeling crappy, when we have these moments where there are seeds of doubt planted into our minds, we really have to build up our armor, if you will, so that we're a lot more resilient. Not saying that we're not going to allow ourselves the time to go through whatever journey or motions that God intends for us in order for us to learn the lessons we need to learn, in order for us to be victorious on the other side of whatever testimony or whatever, trial that we're going through. We're not negating that, but we realize that there's also sometimes this woe is me, pity party for one, that's self-induced, that needs to be removed from the equation. And I absolutely agreed with Elaine, and kind of shared with her what I went through during my rebound period and what I want to be able to kind of take into consideration as I go through these moments of self-doubt, or if I ever go into this space of where information or feedback kind of puts me in a funky space. And of course, today I want to share it with you. So I want to say this. The first thing I need you to do, so in all honesty, in all transparency, I had someone tell me that I have really great vision and that I lack the ability to execute. So anyone who knows me knows that, like, that's the furthest from the truth. Like, I literally have written a book in 90 days. I have written 2 books. I have created multiple planners, multiple editions of my planner. I will knock out different iterations of creative pieces in very short periods of time. But what I realized was that in this particular case, hearing that hurt me. Hearing that made me feel like I was a failure. Hearing that made that become the narrative of who I thought, like who I was starting to kind of like believe I was. I began to wear this label of being ineffective, wearing this label of not feeling like I was enough or even good enough. So it really put me in a bad space. Now, the problem with this feedback that I received is that, you know, it kind of like swept me off my feet a little bit, in making me really not productive at that point, because now I'm all in my, in my bag, if you will, and I'm feeling as if I'm like searching for this, am I ineffective? Am I not able to produce results? What do I need to do differently? And so what happened for me at that moment is that I had to find peace. So what I want you to do and what I want you to write down is that if you are in a space where you're feeling really funky, whether it's because you're looking at competitors and they seem to be really doing more than what you're doing, and whatever narrative is starting to come out of that feeling, saying that you're not good enough, whatever your gremlin is telling you, I want you to find peace. And here's what you're going to do for step 1 in finding peace. You are going to pray, and you are going to be still. And the reason why I want you to pray and to be still is because God's words will begin to speak to your spirit, and He will give you solace. Now, that sounds peaceful, that sounds great and all, but with that comes 2 things. Awareness of who God says you are, and awareness of what it is you are really doing. So let's take my example, okay? Or my scenario as an example. So someone told me I was ineffective, or that I had really great visions and I lacked execution. Now, let's talk about that. So I prayed. I remember laying down in my bed and I was praying, and I said, God, please calm these negative feelings that I have about myself. Please, dear Lord, help me deal with this in a way where I'm able to, 1, really understand who am I, 2, look for opportunities for growth, and 3, just reveal to me who I really am, because I was starting to feel like maybe I am a failure. I mean, literally, like the minute the person said it, and they said it so matter-of-factly that it just kind of like was, like I said, it was like a stink that I couldn't get off of me. And in that moment, God showed me a few things. 1, the same person who said that I was ineffective literally gave me an award for being results-oriented the previous year, which means that I may, in that moment, in that conversation, that situation, may have not seemed to have produced results for this person, but in the past, I have. So I'm not going to wear this as a blanket statement that basically says that Nicole does not achieve results. So that's 1. So that's not who I am. I'm not this person who does not achieve results. And then God began to reveal to me all of my past accomplishments that allowed me to see that I actually do produce results. So that's why I said, be still and pray and allow God to speak to your spirit, really letting you know who he says you are, and not just this narrative of what someone may say or someone's opinion at that moment. Don't allow that to define you. Allow God to show you who you are. That's the person who validates you. God is God validates you. God is going to be the one to tell you who you are and whose you are. And it's very important for you to quiet any negative self-talk that you may begin to do with yourself, and really listen to him. But there is something, there's a flip side to it, and you have to be prepared for it. And yes, this is still all step one. And that flip side is that there needs to be some accountability as well. So God is going to be 100 with you. He is going to not lie to you. He is going to tell you exactly what is going on. And even though God said to me, and spoke to my spirit and shared all of these things that I have accomplished, what he also shared is that in this season, in this particular project, I have not yielded results. So although what the person said does not define me, when it comes to this particular event, or when it comes to this particular thing, I had to own it. I was not producing results with this particular project. And so that left me with a different kind of feeling. So it wasn't a feeling of woe is me and oh, this person is just really mean, but it ended up being a feeling of wow, so you've been slacking, not in all areas, but in this area. And that leads me to number 2, which is refocus so that you aren't distracted by the enemy and you are in alignment for what God has in store for you. So one of the things that's really interesting is that in that space where I'm like, okay, I'm really like slacking in this project, there becomes this avalanche of feelings. So it doesn't just end with like, woe is me, and oh, I really suck at this project, but then it becomes this whole huge thing of why you can't prosper in life and why you don't get these opportunities, and oh, it's because I'm not effective, oh, I'm not results oriented. And then it completely begins to be this huge snowball effect of just negative thoughts after negative thoughts after negative thoughts that begin to build a false narrative over your life. And that is the enemy lying to you. And so it's so easy to get distracted. It's so easy to shut down. It's so easy to discount something that you should take into consideration. It's so easy for you to feel sorry for yourself. It's so easy for you to feel as if you are depressed. It's so easy for you to say, I'm not going to push forward. It's so easy for you to say that you don't want to feel rejection, so I'm not even going to try this thing anymore. It's so easy for you to give up on God's plan for your life because you are so caught up in your feelings and your emotions, not realizing that you are being distracted. And it's as simple as that. One thing, one comment, one word, one person posting something about you, one person writing you an email, one person that slips into your DM can completely take off your game. Just like Elaine said, your rebound has to be so much faster. You have to be a little bit more resilient because these things should not take us off our game. But the enemy is here to manipulate and to distract and confuse and destroy. And so, of course, he's going to try. And he's going to pick the areas in your life where you are the most sensitive. For me, I'm sensitive around my professional brand. And being results oriented is something that I pride myself on, and that's a problem. You shouldn't have pride, right? But it's something that I feel very proud of. It's something that I feel like I have a track record. So when someone then attacks that thing, now all of a sudden I'm insecure about it, right? All of a sudden, nothing that I've done in the past amounts to anything because one person said one thing about one event and one project, and that becomes the defining role of who I am. And now for the rest of the day, I can't be productive because that knocked me off my game. What is that one thing that has knocked you off your game where you are no longer focused? What is that one thing that has stopped you in your tracks because someone said one something that hurt your feelings, that wounded your spirit, that made you feel like that you were not good enough, that really fed that gremlin of yours. And if you guys are new to the gremlin is that thing that's in the back of your mind saying you're not good enough, smart enough, wise enough to do ... And ... is whatever you want to fill in the blank with. So think about it, because if what you have is your purposepreneur, your God idea, that I love that Elaine calls it your God idea, right? That thing that God has placed in your spirit that you really, really want to do, that you want to build and you want to help move your tribe forward through this thing that God has placed into your spirit. How is it that we allow the enemy to distract us so that we are no longer aligned? So once you pray, and number one, right? So once you pray and you're still, and you ask for God's words to shower over your spirit, speak to your spirit, so that you are at peace in knowing who you are and whose you are, as well as being held accountable for where you need to actually grow, or the areas in your life that you need to pay a little attention to. Once you do that, remember, you have to refocus so you aren't distracted by the enemy, that you make sure that you are aligned to what God has in store for you. So once you do those things, you are going to move on to number 3, and that's getting back on your grind, and that's getting to work. And for me, that very next day, I felt like I had a plan that was going to help me get back into the daily grind of things. It helped me in realizing how I needed to refocus. It helped me in realizing what I needed to do to change the situation to ensure that I was going to be successful in seeing results. Because what really sucks is that what that person said about that particular project was not a lie. It wasn't a lie. It was absolutely true. But instead of getting in my feelings about it, and instead of shutting down completely, I had to refocus. I had to make sure that I prayed and that I was able to quiet the ego, because the ego gets real bruised. See, the ego is real sensitive. The ego is always in its bag, and it's not about me, right? It's about the work. It is about the work that's helping others. And so once you're able to identify that, then you are able to talk to God, move yourself out of the way, and focus on the work that God has for you. So here's what I want you guys to do this week. I know it's a short one. I just wanted to come in and give you a really quick word where I'm able to help inspire you ladies on this week. But listen, here's what I want you to do. I really want you to identify something that's going on in your life right now where it's stopping your growth in your business. I want you to write that down. I want you to say, this is the thing that hurts my feelings so much that I've just stopped. That I've just stopped what I'm doing and I'm no longer moving forward. And once you've identified that thing, I want you to journal your prayer to God and asking Him to speak to your spirit and telling you who you are in that situation. If someone said that you're not good enough, ask God, am I good enough for this, God? Is this something for me to focus on? And be still and allow Him to speak to your spirit. And once you hear your answer, write it down. Because like I said, God's going to keep it 100 with you. He's going to tell you when you've done a great job, right? And when He says, well done. Or He's going to also say, listen, you know this is where you fall short. And this is what you need to do in order for you to overcome that. See, He's going to order your steps. He's going to give you direction and guidance. But you have to be open, and your ego, you have to diminish yourself, right? Because if you have too much of yourself and you're too puffed up, you're not going to be able to hear how He is not only praising you and telling you what you've done well, but where He's also holding you accountable and giving you that conviction of how to do better and how to improve. So I want you to write those things down so that you know what you need to do. And I want you to just get on your grind. I want you to be able to operate in purpose. And I want you to feel that every day you're working towards building a brand that is absolutely crave-worthy and ready to help your tribe move forward. So, ladies, have a wonderful, awesome week. This is your girl, Nicole Doss, saying have a wonderful, awesome, productive, and most of all, blessed day. Bye.